So thanks everyone for joining. We'll just begin in a minute, and we have all the experts already. They've logged in well in time. So thank you for that. And for first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Sanjeev Jain, and I am co-founder director with Enabling World. That's the organization which is hosting this session today. And with me, I have my partner and friend, Sushil Tile. Sushil, if you can say hello to everyone.
Hi.
All right. And so first of all, let me introduce the panelists, our experts here, right? And let me go alphabetical if I can. And I had a bit of problem, Deepti and Deivyani, to check which one is first actually, but I then figured it out. Okay, so I'll go with first. Let me go with Deepti. Deepti is expert in this area of well-being. She's a counselor. She has many things, many skills she brings to the table. So she's a counselor, trainer, and she's a posh expert as well, which I got to know now. And she's also coach. And she's holding a very responsible position of being the consultant for EAP for Wells Fargo. And that's a huge organization. And but I can tell you, we have done some work along with them. They have a very genuine intentions of making a difference to employees' well-being. I mean, I can actually vouch for that. And she's handling that for India and Philippines. She has huge knowledge and expertise in this area. So thank you, Deepti, for joining in. She's joining from Bangalore.
Thank you, Sanjeev, and hi and good evening, good morning, and good afternoon to everyone here. Great to be here.
Did I miss anything you want to call out, Deepti?
No, I think we're good. It's a lot of pressure if you read out too much.
All right. Okay, next is Deivyani, Deivyani Dheer. She likes to be, her complete name to be taken up. So I'm calling you Deivyani Dheer. So Deivyani is again, huge expertise in this area of well-being. She has been doing her own consulting for about 14 years. She's currently associate director of global well-being function in Concentrix, which again a huge organization. I will not talk about number, but they are really, it's a large organization and multi geographies of operations that they're running. So thank you, Deivyani, for joining. And I must say special thanks to her. She has taken special pains to join today, and she's joining from Canada. And it's about what, 6:30, 6:40 now for you?
Yes, it is. But this is a topic close to my heart, so it's my pleasure. And I have kept myself well caffeinated, so I'll be tolerable for the day.
All right. No, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And then Gauri, thank you very much for joining in. And I will take a few minutes to read your introduction, because the amount of awards, number of awards that you have got, I don't know how, it's huge. So briefly, she's in a very unique case where she was an engineer turned into HR. Very few people who have done that. And she has a double master's in psychology and HR, and she has been a TEDx speaker, Economic Times Young HR Professional. She has been HR 100 less than 40. Okay. So this is a less than under 40, 100, then top 200 voices in leadership, top 10 global women in HR. Wow. And in addition to that, she is also senior VP and head of HR for IFFS organization. So thank you, Gauri, for joining. And you're also joining from Bangalore, I understand.
Yeah, thanks, Sanjeev. So I love Bangalore, but I am in Mumbai.
You're in Mumbai. All right. Okay. You're like Sushil. He's from Delhi, but he loves Bangalore. So, all right. Then, thank you, Gauri, for joining in. And then last but not least is my old friend, I would say, Manish Kant. He's joining from London today. He's HR head for international business for Tata Consumer Products, UK. And he has worked in variety of industries, actually, into financial sector, into consumer products currently, and IT. And he has worked in large metrics organization, has figured out how to manage, align HR with business. And he's passionate about, creating a very strategic alignment with HR strategy or with what business needs. And I've seen some of it myself, so I can agree with that, absolutely. Thank you, Manish, for joining in case you want to add anything to what I've said.
Nothing, Sanjeev. It's good for the time being. Thank you for having me here.
All right, so just a brief introduction to thank you very much to everyone. And we have a very rich, diverse panel. I'm sure we'll have a very interesting discussion around today. One quick announcement that you can be on mute when not talking so that the session goes smooth. And if you want, keep it interactive. We have chat function here. We and Sushil and my team will make sure that most of the key topics are picked up, and we'll take some live question. We may invite you to speak up your question and ask. So we'll do that. We have 1 hour. My request to panelists would be, you can expect a lot of comments in the chat. While you're talking, when you get time, don't mind, feel free to jump into and react to those comments that our audience is making. So feel free to do that. And so that's what it is. So just a brief introduction about Enabling World. We are about 11 years old. Focus areas are into HR. It's a core HR consulting firm, boutique HR consulting firm, into HR consulting and advisory, leadership and talent development. Employee well-being is in the last, but that's quite a strong pillar for us in terms of the services that we provide. We do work into DIB space as well quite a bit. That's just a brief introduction. So let's move on. We have already met the panelists, so you can stop sharing, Vijaya. So let's dive into the session today directly, right? So are we all ready, all of us? Can you give a thumbs up, panelists? Perfect. All right, just a brief introduction. I mean, I know all of you would know we are celebrating World Mental Health Day, which comes in October. In fact, the whole month by most of the organizations is celebrated on focusing on mental health, and rightly so, especially in last 3-4 years, right? So that is one reason why we have chosen this month to hold this topic, number one. Secondly, psychological safety is not so new. It has been around for some time, but still, I think the understanding about what psychological safety is, what it is not, still, I think the level of understanding it varies from organization to organization, person to person. So I think this particular session will talk a little more about it. And psychological safety, while we'll ask the experts in simple terms, it will be, you can be yourself without any fear of reprimand or, humiliation. You can speak your mind. You can give your suggestions. You can make honest mistakes without a fear. I think that's what in simple terms, but we'll know more from the expert as we go along. There was one Harvard study that one of the longest study from Harvard, which I was reading the other day, which studied what are the factors to make someone happy and healthy, right? In personal life, professional life. And while there are multiple factors, but one thing which stood out was positive relationship that you have in your life, at the workplace or in personal life, right? And I think people, those who have registered, I'll send a link to that. It's just a beautiful study and still going on. I think it's 70 years plus. The study is going on. And I think they boiled down to one factor, which was the most contributing factor, that if you have positive relationship around you, that will make you healthy and happy. And that's the objective for a lot of us, right? We say, hey, what do you want to do? We want to be happy and healthy, right? A lot of us say that in heart of heart, but it's as simple as that. Keep positive relationship around you. At the workplace, psychological safety is one factor which will help us create good bonds with our managers, with colleagues, with the clients at the workplace, right? If you're not feeling safe, we can't speak our mind. Our relationship will be fake, or we'll just somehow manage it, but they will not be strong and nice and healthy, right? So I think that's the connection. And research also says that it also directly affects the mental health, because if you are comfortable, if you're what you are, you will be healthy. But if you're masking yourself, you're not what you are. You are stressed out, but you pretend that you are happy. You're masking, which is exhausting and can really lead to a lot of stress and mental health issues, right? Today, session that we are going to talk about is this connection, because mental well-being is a huge topic, right? 1 hour is too short with experts like these to talk about it, but I think we'll pick up this element of how psychological safety at the workplace and mental well-being at the workplace for employees, how are they connected? What can we do about it? And we'll focus, and I'll request panelists to stay focused. While there'll be a lot of issues we'll talk about, but we'll also talk about some best practices. I want all of us to go back with picking up some idea from you, what has worked for you, or you have seen it working, so that we all can be better equipped to deal with it at the workplace that we're managing as business leaders or as HR leaders, right? So that's the focus. So if that's okay with everyone, so let's start. So we got some questions from our participants while they were registering. So we got a lot of comments. Some I wrote myself. So I'll go in a random order, right? Feel free to raise hand. Say I want to jump into and contribute to it. So let it be a free-flowing conversation as we do. So let's start first from Deepti. Maybe if I can start from you, can you unpack for us what do you understand by psychological safety? While I've mentioned briefly, but my explanation may be very insufficient, but I mean, with your experience, why don't you attempt this?
Sure. Thank you, Sanjeev. I think your explanation was quite spot on. And, to me, when I think about psychological safety, especially at the workplace, it really boils down to bringing my authentic self to the work. Am I able to do that? Do I feel safe to do that? So when I say authentic self, it would not just mean in terms of how I perform my work, but how I interact with my peers, with my seniors, with my with my juniors. So it's the all-round 360-degree interactions and relationships, and how safe I feel to be myself. It also includes definitely the aspect of being able to think differently and voice those opinions without feeling that I may be admonished for it, or I may be excluded for it. I think exclusion is also a very important part of what psychological safety in the workplace is. And this I'm saying because exclusion is something that is not very tangible, right? It's something we feel. It's you get that sense that, hey, I don't feel like I'm being included in this group. And it's a very, very powerful negative way of interacting with our peers. So feeling like you're an outsider is definitely one part that is not, beneficial or not fostering psychological safety. So the opposite of exclusion, like all of it's about feeling included. It's about feeling valued.
Anyone wants to add to that? I know Amy Benson, who really coined this term. I mean, this has been there, but I think she's the one who popularized this concept while she's a Harvard professor, while she was doing work for caregiving sectors. She understood, she did some research and brought this to light, and thanks to her to bringing this important concept to our knowledge every day. Anyone wants to add to that any quick thing in addition to what Deepti said on what is psychological safety? Anything you want to add? Gauri, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think Dipti described it very well, and you also brought out very good points. To add to it, I think it all boils down to respect. So if I have respect in terms of offering my feedback, even if it is to a senior level professional or anyone in the organization, as long as I'm respectful and I make a point. Respect for communication, the way I am communicated with and how do I communicate. Respect for my individual perspective, which can be very, very different from majority in the room, yet I am allowed to bring it forward. Respect for my background, respect also for my boundaries. So if I have decided on something and it is within the policy of the organization, I should not be pushed to do something which is beyond that, because I have set my boundary and it is within the purview of the organization. So I should be respected for that. So I think the only word with which I would describe psychological safety is respect. Respect for anything that we are doing, as long as it is with the agreed goal or the
Correct. So I think there's you're absolutely right. And I hear nowadays, earlier we used to talk about IQ, and then we started talking about EQ. Today we talk about decency quotient as well, right? I mean, I'm sure you would have heard, I mean, MasterCard CEO, I know he's promoted Mr. Banga very well on this. I mean, Manish, you would know that decency quotient, this is being talked about as an important skill or a trait that managers and leaders should display. So absolutely, I think it's all going to that direction. So let me move on. There's a recent survey, I think from Indeed, which People Matters, right? It's a research organization, and an organization does a lot of knowledge work on HR. They came up with a paper which said, interestingly, the employers, about 57% employers, they know about what psychological safety is, right? Still, it's not 80-90%. Still, a lot of employers may not even know. When I say the managers and the leaders or the CEOs, there's still a small percentage of people who really know what psychological safety is clearly. But when it comes to employees, that number was very small. It was about less than 40% people even knew about what psychological safety is, right? Deivyani, this question to you in your role as a leader for employee wellness for such a progressive and large organization. I mean, first of all, do you agree that yes, very few people, employees, if you ask me why, what is psychological safety, people would really understand and know about it? If it is so, then what do you do about it? What is your recommendation in concentrics or otherwise?
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic approach to looking at psychological safety, because creating awareness is the crux in this entire domain. And I'll also take off from where Gauri had spoken about respect. I think to create that environment where you are non-judgmental and you're accepting people for who they are, because when you're hiring somebody and you're working with people, of course, you're hiring them for their strengths. But I think accepting them for their holistic setup as human beings when it comes to their struggles, their individual interpersonal relationships, etc., becomes the most important aspect here. So I believe that creating awareness would be our first aspect. So I always believe in the 4 E's of educating, engaging, and therefore empowering and enhancing. So that is a strategy that I believe we all utilize here, where it's a people first organization, and that is a culture that trickles down from top down. And we try to keep ourselves aware and abreast so that there is no aspect of inclusion that we miss out on. So everybody from every walk of life, every background, every strength, every aspiration is included. So that's the first aspect. Second is to create awareness, and you can start doing it within your own teams. So I think it's more like a vestibule system where each individual within their teams is able to bring down that education, bring down that awareness, and therefore has a macro impact onto the whole perspective from a micro or a divergent thinking process. So I think that creating awareness will be our first step, educating people about the concepts, educating people about how to bring about people together, creating that need of belongingness, making sure that we are, again, respecting people in a non-judgmental and a safe environment. So creating that on a daily basis, accepting people's thoughts and emotions both at the same time. So when you're communicating, you're not just passing information, you're also able to understand what the person is feeling if they're communicating. In today's day and age, I think affective communication is key, and we need to understand that aspect of the human working structure as well. So this
give me an example. Okay, great. Give me an example, Deivyani, just to make it simple for make sure everyone understands it. Is it you release some communications posters around or email communication, or when your meeting start, you say, hey, you should feel safe. If you're not feeling safe, speak up, kind of thing. What exactly do you do? I mean, just to make it simple for us.
Absolutely. So I think some small actions that we do, which have big positive reactions, is, of course, we have internal trainings. We have a lot of emailers that go out. But other than that, on a daily basis, when I'm connecting, for example, with my team, or even if my leadership is connecting with me, we all make a conscious effort to have a first 5 minutes dedicated to just basic interaction and not deep dive into work formats. So to understand the person behind the employee is the first, I think, approach that we all follow, and we should all bring in to sensitize. Second is we are constantly on a repetitive basis sensitizing our people to look and find out the kind of, I wouldn't want to say symptomology, but changes in behavior that you can look at in terms of what a person was doing earlier, and if you see certain trends. So that kind of sensitization and awareness is what I'm talking about. For example, if somebody was always a keen participant, or was always very gregarious on calls, or always had their video on, or always turned up looking very nattily dressed, but has suddenly decreased in their appearance, decreased in their communication style or amount of communication, so both quantity and quality, that's where you pause and you provide that environment to them, or a platform to them to acknowledge the fact that there is something that we can provide support for, or there is something that is amiss, or there is something that has changed. Of course, the trainings that we provide are very focused on not making a person conscious, or not, sort of pinpointing or plucking out a person individually. But it all depends on how subtly you are able to bring that
Exactly. In
helping
fact,
hand and helping ear.
that's a very tricky thing. And there are a lot of organizations which do this mental health first aid, program training to the managers, which enable them to even understand these issues and then how to approach, how to deal with that. Right. So great. So thank you very much for that, explanation, Deivyani. And let me move on to, and come back to you again. I know there's a lot that you have to share, and
Sure.
there's a lot going on the chat, so feel free to comment there. So Manish, coming to you, the mental health, since we are celebrating this mental health World Mental Health Day, it's a good opportunity for us to talk about it. What's happening on the ground that you see around in the industry, at the workplace in particular, because that's our larger focus today's discussion. Do you see these instances going up, the mental health issues? Do you see that it could be the instances are going up, or people have started talking more about it? Sometimes we don't know whether more people reporting is a good thing or bad thing. Sometimes it is good because, hey, more people have less stigma. They are opening up and talking about it. Maybe the issues are going up. So what is your understanding?
So thanks, Sanjeev. I think before I answer this question, I would like to just maybe go back to your previous question, okay? Because whether people are aware of this term called psychological safety, do we need to really start publicizing or making awareness on that? So my take on that is, while people may not have this affinity with this word called psychological safety, and probably Amy Edmondson brought forth kind of underscoring on that, but I think what it in a sense means is very fundamental and foundational. And as an organization, all of us know, and I think for many years, that for anybody to give their best at their place of work, they need to feel that they have a voice. They need to feel that their voice matters. They need to feel they are respected for their the experience they bring to the table, the capabilities they bring to the table, something which other panelists have said. So I think it's very fundamental and core. So I think rather than creating awareness on psychological safety, I think the leadership bandwidth and the HR bandwidth needs to go to create that right culture where people feel that they are themselves. So I don't think we need to really underscore this word psychological safety, because sometimes this word itself can mean different things, and it may not have a very great connotation. So at least as a Tata organization, we never talk about as much in our company about that. And I think we fundamentally believe in our organization that dignity and respect for people is absolutely core. You cannot have performance without having that. And it's very much enshrined in our code of conduct. It's very much clearly an expectation which everybody needs to actually undertake, that, whatever happens, no harassment in any form, psychological, physical, sexual, is tolerated. So it's very clear. So what I'm trying to say is, publicizing psychological safety may not be at least our priority, but creating that culture and environment is our priority. So coming on to now the question which you asked me. Okay, so I think
I like because I think it's what's there in the name. I think what matters is the environment and the culture that you're creating. And people may call it decency quotient. Some people may call it, your own voice, bring yourself, true self into the organization. People different names, intent is same. But yes, sometimes if you talk too much about it, psychological safety, I mean, it may not go, depends on the culture of the organization again, right? So it's your organization. And so far, so intent, and I saw a lot of firmness in when you're saying that we don't tolerate. I could sense that kind of firmness, that how serious you are about it. All right, go ahead to the second question, the question that I posed to you.
Yeah, so I think the awareness and the sensitization on the mental well-being has really gone up. And I think this has been extremely high in the geographies I partner with. So I work with my colleagues within, not just the UK, but US and Canada are two of our important markets, which I also actually work very closely with. So I think there's a lot of actually talk and concern around some of these elements. There are various studies which have happened, so I'll not quote them, but I think a lot of people in millions are experiencing some sort of anxiety and depression related systems. And there's a lot of sense of overwhelming, which is coming or emanating from work. So I think there's a huge responsibility which managers or companies have to address it. So yes, it's a very, very topical subject which needs attention. And we do a lot of stuff as an organization. I'm sure all leading companies do that. But this is a topic which is not just a nice to do, but very crucial, because ultimately it has a huge impact on the productivity of the organization, on the innovation and the delivery to the customer, and being successful in the competitive landscape. So I think too important a topic not to be discussed within the top leadership levels in any organization. So I'll pause here. If there are any questions,
sure. I'm asking, I will ask Deivyani, you are into well-being space, right? That's what your profession. I mean, are you seeing an increasing trend? And Deepti, you're also managing, say, EAP for India and Philippines for such a large auction. Are you seeing an upward trend? Gauri, you can also, I want to know what's going on. Is it going up or down? Is it because people are reporting more, or actually it's getting more complex? What do you see the trend? Deepti, or Deivyani, you can start.
So what I feel here is that I think because of this awareness that is coming out, awareness in any society is extremely important. When things are under wrap, everything is taboo, and even the reporting or even the reaching out is impacted. So because of this education and the awareness that I've been harping about, I think the receptivity to reach out for help and the normalization of reaching out for help is now seeping in. So you can see that, say, for example, the number of one-on-one cases that we have, or on-demand cases that we have, even in the EAP space, and Deepti will, of course, share deeper insights into that. But our EAP cases, the number of utilization for EAP cases is going up. And that is not indicative of a sick society. That is indicative of a progressive society where people are reaching out for help. And that in itself is an indicator of the fact that people are becoming more aware. People are putting their own mental health and holistic health as well and reaching out to seek that support. So I think that is the first environmental change and societal change that I'm seeing. And even the organizations that we function within, they're all part of the society, and we're all part and parcel of, we bring in our culture as well to our work. So all of these changes, I think, would be my first indicator to say that the society is getting progressive. Workplace environments are getting progressive, and all of the awareness that is being created is being manifested into that positive direction with this increased receptivity.
Great. And Deepti, in your role, I mean, what do you see?
Yeah, I totally concur with what Deivyani just shared. And, I'll just share a small anecdote.
Sure.
Of course, the sample size is small compared to, the whole across organizations, if we were to look. But we ran this month-long campaign in the month of May for mental health awareness. And, typically we do, and Sanjeev, you're also aware that we do these ongoing programs, without any theme. Every month we have awareness sessions, and it's open for everyone. But in the month of May, we did this concentrated effort to really talk about mental health. So we took up topics like anxiety. We took up topics like mental health fundamentals, sensitizing managers. We, in fact, had a session where we had a renowned psychiatrist come and talk to us about mental illness, about medication, about treatment. And the response was really positive. So of course, when we looked at it, it was like, okay, you provide something and there is definitely an audience to take that up. But it also translated into EAP usage. And you can see a spike when we look at our EAP utilization for that quarter. May is like really skyrocketing. So awareness, so it's not like people had more issues in May alone, right? Mental health conditions, mental health concerns have been prevalent for years. In fact, I think one of the most quoted studies for India especially was the NIMHANS survey, which was done in the year 2016. And prior to that, there is really not much of documented evidence about mental health awareness in India. But from then, at least, there has been concentrated effort because there's definitely a need. So mental health issues are prevalent. And of course, awareness does help in ensuring that people receive help or at least access help and support when needed.
You're right, because there's not a stigma around this in terms of opening up or calling it out that I have an issue, because feel that you may lose out on your growth prospects or your employment sometimes, right? So people, and then the way you'll be treated at the work. So sensitive awareness. So I think it, Gauri, anything you want to add to that? I mean, are you agreeing with the same trend or something else you want to add?
Absolutely. The trend is positive, and the reason is awareness. People do say that it's too much now, and they are fed about just listening to this. But it is very much required, because we know that the industry average of using these tools is almost 2% in India. I think 1.5 to 2%. So still the utilization is low. But people have understood that this is important and there's no stigma attached. So just like Deepti said that they celebrated Mental Awareness Month, I recollect celebrating Men's Day and organizing a mental health session for men 3 years ago. So since 3 years, we have been celebrating Men's Day. First year, when I
so at least someone is thinking about men also. Thank you.
Yeah, but first year when I announced this idea, people were short of telling me that she has gone crazy. I mean, who cares about mental health of men? They are the ones who kind of give pain to others. But 2 years down the line, this year when we celebrated, people were in, not for a surprise, but they were there. And just you said that someone is thinking about men. So they were there in good attendance and they asked a lot of questions. The topics were different, definitely. But overall, the commitment was there. Overall understanding was there. Then we also celebrated a month of inclusivity. Now, the moment we say DEI, it's all about gender, but not anymore. People do understand that it's not only gender, it's a lot of things. And the most important word there is respect. So we brought in the real self of people through various initiatives. There is a video also which we have created and you can see it on my page. It is very, very recent. LinkedIn page. So we went to where you come from, what foods you like, what do you like about your place, what do you like about the organization, asking them about the ideas that they would want us to implement. And I'm glad to share that we could implement 47% of ideas that we received. But wherever we could not, we went back and we said that we are not able to implement it because of this reason, this is on hold, this cannot be done. But the feedback loop was closed. Now, why is it possible? It's not possible just because the senior leadership team or HR is pushing for it. I think everybody is coming together. They understand it now. There is a lot of awareness about mental health, about respect, and about having that psychological safety. And one example I would like to bring out, which will clarify how things are changing. So this was shared by one of my friends, a CHRO, and she said that she and her team, they went for a strategy meet. They went to a hill station, so 7 of them and CEO, 8 people, and they went to a hill and at night they were roaming around. So CEO said that, look at that place. That place is our hotel where we are staying currently. And people argued, no, we can't see this from such a far off distance. But some said, no, it is there, it is there. This argument continued for a while. 2 people amongst them said, yes, that's the place where we are staying. And while everybody knew it is not right, the CEO was disappointed that there are people who just follow what he is saying. So this awareness is actually telling that things are improving and every day things are changing and people are understanding that it's not that boss said something you have to follow. So yes, definitely things are changing, things are improving for me.
So great. And I think I'll just add one thing. We do a lot of work around Men's Day also. I mean, you're right. When I started researching, one fact that I read was shocking. The suicide rate in men globally is 3 times that of women. I mean, I did not know about it being a man. It's 3 times that of women. But the attempted suicide rate for women is higher. But men, if they think, they just do it, kind of thing. Scary. It was quite scary. And, no one talks about it. Can you imagine? Because in diversity, sometimes we talk about gender, LGBTQI, etc. Sometimes, I mean, most of the organizations say gender neutral policy nowadays, right? It's not focusing just on one gender, but all across. Everyone is an employee. Everyone needs attention. So I think there are things that I think such sessions, such discussions, conversations help us know a little more about it and move forward, right? Okay, so thank you, Gauri, for that very insightful sharing. So Deivyani, let me come to you again. In your view, how is psychological safety and mental well-being at work connected, right? And when she completes, anyone who wants to jump into, because that's the core of the discussion today. Are they really connected? Do we really know? And what do we do about it is what we are going to spend the rest of the time today. Go ahead, Deivyani.
Thanks, Sanjeev. Yes, I think they are both extensions of each other. And it not only impacts a sense of belongingness, which comes from the acceptance aspect, it also enhances the positive relationship between people and with your own self. And that is something that is so important, where initially where I had said that you have to understand the person beyond and behind the employee. I think in this case, I always say that a happy person will make a happy employee. So to understand the nuances of the individual, to understand the fact that they will come with all of their struggles, they will come with all of their baggage in an organization, to provide that sense of security, to provide that sense of belongingness, this entire domain is extremely important. And therefore, I feel that both psychological safety, providing mental wellness support, brings in that kind of sense of belongingness and enhancement with the employees. Of course, the long run benefits are productivity and maybe reduced absenteeism and better team dynamics, etc. But in the whole run, so I'll give a small example and how we've sort of seen that difference within our organization. So we have an internal training where we're all mental wellness partners. If you remember, initially I'd spoken about a vestibule format of supporting each other. And it becomes tricky sometimes to support somebody through a mental health struggle because not everybody is equipped to do it. And not everybody wants to share that burden. But we have, of course, we have an opt-out option as well. But all of us are mental wellness partners. We are trained for it. We go through a 2-day process training of understanding what mental health is, what inclusion is, what and how to identify an individual who's struggling. So to understand that person behind the employee. So we are trained to even, take notes. We are trained to identify. We are trained to report a crisis locally within our own regions. So keeping the legalities in mind. So all of these trainings are something that is equipping an individual within the organization. And that same individual will take that knowledge even into their own homes, into their societies, into their interactions.
It has ripple effect. Okay.
It's absolutely. So these conversations are getting manifested into actions within organizations, and they are taking the lead to bring that aspect of bringing the awareness of mental wellness, therefore psychological safety, not just in a corporate bracket, but in an entire societal bracket. Because if I know how to, sir, go ahead.
Deivyani, I'm just sorry to interrupt you, but we do a lot of well-being sessions, right? I mean, Deepti would know. I mean, we have done multiple organizations well-being sessions. A lot of times, people bring family members along with that. Hey, today we have a session on stress management, right? I mean, invariably, sometimes organizations openly say, please bring in your, your wife, your partners, or your grown-up kids, depending on the topic that you're talking about, bring them into it. I know if I hear some topic the evening, we discuss over the dinner table, what was done today? I said, I had an interesting topic on, say, some well-being topic on managing stress, something, and this is what I learned. It really spreads. It really spreads. So coming back to the question that I was asking, that you feel both are very, closely connected, psychological sense of psychological safety person feels, and the state of mental being of the employee, right? Both are very well connected, right? That's what you feel. So, okay. And anything, Deepti, you would like to add to that?
Yeah, just adding, on to what was just shared. Definitely, they are interconnected. There is a very close link between feeling psychologically safe and feeling mentally well. And if we were to just look at the basic definition of what is mental health or positive mental health, basically means that we're able to function at an optimal level. We're able to deal with everyday stressors effectively and not let that affect us negatively. And we're able to maintain our relationship. So, that'll be like a very basic definition of what is mental health. Now, if I am in a psychologically safe workplace, it would definitely feed into a positive mental health. But if I'm in a workplace which doesn't foster that kind of safety, then I am constantly probably feeling, like I need to watch out for myself, that I cannot open my mind, share my views. I cannot question something that is appearing to be wrong, or I cannot make any mistakes. So I'm constantly on the guard. So all of this is additional stress, adding on to whatever daily stresses you have to manage. Now, if that is a brief amount of stress, that's fine. But the reality is that all of us work for several hours, day in and day out, and this kind of stress becomes chronic. And when it's chronic, like with how, if anyone has a predisposition to a heart condition, chronic pressure on your heart will eventually manifest in a cardiac issue. Similarly, chronic pressure to psychologically unsafe environments will manifest or lead to symptoms of a mental health condition. And if someone is predisposed, maybe has had a past trauma or has there is a genetic disposition to develop a mental health condition, because depression and anxiety do have that, so then individuals with that condition are probably pushed faster into the mental ill health category. And the other way also, for instance, if I'm coming into a workplace already having a diagnosis, I'm diagnosed with anxiety and I'm coming into a workplace, I already feel different. Feeling different, that I don't function exactly like the others in my team. And if I'm in a team where, the manager or my colleagues are prone to ridiculing or, shushing a different idea, or completely, so that also makes it even harder to come out of the mental health condition or manage the mental health condition, despite all the resources that we may have. So definitely there's a strong...
Very interesting, Deepti, very interesting that you say this. I was reading some research report recently, which said the response to an environment is unique from everyone, right? In the same situation, Manish may feel absolutely normal, right? He can cope with it, deal with it, and then can go back home happy. In the same situation, environment, I can feel very anxious. It depends on, this is my response to a given situation, isn't it? And the report said people who feel psychologically unsafe, one of the reason is their mental situation, like mental condition, health condition, right, is very big contributor to that situation, that response kind of thing, right? Now the dilemma is, which maybe you, Gauri, if you also want to attempt, is because this is very personal, right? Your unique situation, your resilience, your mental makeup, right? But the impact is at the workplace. So what should you deal with first? Is it the mental health of employees at the first place? That should be the starting point or a lever for us to work on, or creating a safe workplace, or both. I'm sure it will be both, but where do you begin with, right? So, Gauri, if you want to attempt that, and Deepti, you can also add, because since you were alluding to that point, you can start, and then maybe Gauri, you can add.
Yeah, so I think it should be both, because we really can't wait for one system to be fully better and then start addressing the other. And when I say both, it's really about promoting that awareness, promoting the kind of, or educating, sensitizing everyone towards one. So, just going back to what Manish said right at the beginning, we don't really have to label it as feeling psychologically safe, but like exactly what Gauri and Deivyani were saying, right? We talk about, do you feel respected? If you don't feel respected, then let's first put in systems where you can speak out about it. We have policies, we have redressal mechanisms where one can speak without the fear of retaliation, right? So that's one way where you build psychological safety. At the same time, because like you said, right, the response is so subjective. It comes from, our past and our background, our upbringing, that has a huge impact on how we perceive and respond to situations. So at the same time, hand in hand, we also promote and encourage the reach out to mental health support. And I'm using the term mental health because I feel like we all shy away from it in organizations. We prefer to say words like emotional well-being, but it is a component of mental health, right? So mental health support, seek therapy, seek counseling. There is no harm. So we need to really normalize that and approach it from both angles.
All right. So thank you very much for a very comprehensive explanation. Let's move on. I have a few more questions. I know we are a little 15 minutes remaining.
If I can add, Sanjeev.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I fully agree with Dipti. I think we cannot work in isolation. And I had one example in a team.
Sure.
So a new hire, young woman and a manager, first-time manager, very, very aggressive and perfectionist. Work-wise, you cannot find anything challenging there. But the expectation mismatch. So we tried working, explaining it to her, but a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors, and she will keep crying. So first we work how it works, right? That you tell them, this is the way. We created notes for her, manuals changed, automation brought in, and a lot of other support, but nothing changed. We then realized that there's something which pinches, and then we went to her mother, we spoke to her, and we realized, yes, there was something, and that was addressed through mental health support, like Deepti rightly said, that it has to work in tandem. And after that, she turned out to be a very good performer. So definitely,
Great.
if you are seeing a challenge, the challenge may lie, just like an iceberg. We say that the challenge may lie beneath the surface. We may only look at what is not right, but we have to look at the reason also. So definitely, it has to work hand in hand.
So I would like to add here, that's my favorite and Sushil's favorite also. We say a 3L approach is a look, listen, and link, in terms of the mental well-being. And Sushil, if you want to just expand on that 3Ls, that's your favorite. So go ahead.
No, it's quite common. I think that it's very, very important of being sensitive and being little mindful of your surrounding, and that's where your intention of seeing will appear naturally. So it's very, very important to remain in an environment where we go there, remain sensitive, and look for the signs of all those elements which has been mentioned about burnout, stress, absenteeism, personal hygiene. It can manifest in any manner you want. The next element is, obviously, there are protocols around. At least show an empathetic approach and listen to the person. Okay, and then a lot of time just speaking out, a lot of people feel relieved because they don't have that opportunity. So listening is very important. And what we advise to everyone except for the expert panel who is sitting there, who's trained and certified to help. We have a natural tendency of becoming a counselor, and that can also be counterproductive. A lot of time people started giving their own example. I was there in 1963, this happened to me. Our suggestion to people have always been refrain from doing this. Don't trivialize the issue for a person, saying this is a small problem, you can do big things. I mean, for you, it looks like the person is already in the negative spiral. So the third element is link this person. Link this person and encourage this person to the professional help available internally within the organization through the EAP services and various platforms, or an external support wherever the person. So it's a very simple look, listen, and link approach. If we are conscious about it, we have seen this working, and that's what we recommend to people.
Thank you, Sushil, for expanding, because there are two frameworks, 4 E's and 3 L's, right? We'll get all the alpha by the end of the session, I think. All right, Manish, coming to you. I think the intersection of, one is the mental health, right? Psychological safety or mental health at the workplace. I think it is very unique for people, talent from diverse background, right? Like neurodiversity or people with disability or LGBTQI community, isn't it? So I think some of you, I think Deepti was also saying, because their pressure, their challenge is much, much higher. Would you like to comment on, in terms of mental well-being and psychological safety, right? In this dimension, what is the challenge, that special challenge diverse talent would have, and what is your recommendation as an organization, as HR, as leaders, we should do to deal with that?
So Sanjeev, maybe I think I'll share my perspective on this, which is limited. Please. And maybe I'll invite probably Deepti and Deivyani to comment on that more elaborately. But I think when we are looking at this dimension of mental health, we are not really segmenting our people in different categories. But you are right, studies have revealed that people who are from the LGBTQ, who are from financially weaker sections, who are beyond a certain age profile, especially in our developed markets, they are more prone to anxiety, stress, depression. So the data reveals that. And in fact, in UK, it's one of the few countries where you have the Minister for Loneliness. Okay, so which is again,
Is it
Minister for Loneliness? Yeah. So it's one of the few places.
Yes.
So it is an important issue which the society is grappling with. But when it comes to an organization, since you need that perspective, when we are dealing with this matter, we are not really segmenting based on the gender or ability, disability profile, or the sexual, because frankly speaking, we in the markets where we operate out of, gender diversity is not an issue for us. We have in fact 50-50 representation, though we have some distance to cover in our leadership. But I think it's a fairly, in fact, whenever we want to do anything which is segmented on genders, our women folks are the first to tell us that don't do that. Why are you doing it? So the point I'm trying to make is we don't segment. We do things consistently when it comes as a subject. And some of the things which we have tried and we continue to do are, doing some stuff around the access to resources on mental well-being to all our employees and including the family members. I think Deivyani made a very interesting comment about having the ripple effect on the friends and families. So I think we always feel that employee is is not just alone, but operates in an ecosystem. So I think we have done that. I think that has been appreciated by our colleagues. We believe work in itself is a very important element of, which can give you a source of fulfillment, and it can also give you a source of anxiety, stress, and depression. So the work has to be connected to the larger purpose, and that needs to become the source of your, can become a source of your mental well-being. And we also encourage our people to focus on their skills and capabilities, because many times the fear element emanates from when I'm feeling either have an imposter syndrome, where I feel I'm not really up to the mark of the requirement of the role. And, so it's very crucial that you focus on your own capabilities and development. And also the managers, managers play a very important role. I believe, managers are as important as a doctor or a general practitioner, as we call in London, on your mental well-being aspect, especially. So the managers need to be in a learning mindset zone rather than a fixed mindset zone. They need not be the smartest person in the room. They need to invite debate. They need to invite, ideas and suggestions. So I think that's the style of leadership which we always, both ask for, demand from our managers, and also nurture them on. So I think I would say these are some of my comments on that.
Absolutely great point. And I would, extension of this would be, and I would ask maybe Deivyani from you, and others can chip in. This is a great time and a challenging time to be a manager or to be in HR, because the talent landscape is getting very, very complex. The way we are moving in terms of the diversity, one has to think of those. The business challenges are there, the way we work is changing from remote, hybrid, etc. So it's pretty challenging time. But exactly on this issue of creating a safe environment, right? I mean, I agree with you, Manish. Employee experiences organizations through the managers, right? What are top 2 skills required into the current manager so that they can create a safe environment, psychologically safe environment? That is number 1. And how can we support that? I think the 2 questions. Deivyani, you start, and then maybe we'll go around, and Gauri has a huge experience. We'll check with her, or Deepti as well. Go ahead.
Sure. Absolutely. I think the top 2 skill sets that we need are empathy and being in the learning mode. I'm going to take that from Manish here. Because once you're in the learning mode, you're able to cater to the need of the hour of the people and customize your approach. So a manager is not a manager in isolation. They are a manager of the people they are managing. So and human behavior is dynamic. So I think the sensibility and the sensitivity to understand the changing needs of their people is something which is extremely important. And while Manish mentioned that we don't categorize people into say by color or by sexuality or other preferences for mental health or under the domain of mental health, I still do believe that catering to them based on what they need is an important aspect. And I'll give you an example of this, where we ran surveys in terms of, so we run wellness group sessions, we run a lot of these training sessions as well. And of course, it becomes important to understand what the people want to consume. If I'm going on teaching stress management and there's no consumer for it, it's a useless process. So understanding what the audience needs and catering to the need of the hour. So we don't specifically run, say, a group on or a psychoed group on, say, LGBTQ or inclusion or diversity specifically. However, we've created these groups where people can go ahead and join. So these are called safe circles. And we promote these where people can join these and say, for example, everyone is hungry. So I always bring this example and this analogy saying everyone is hungry, but not everybody wants to eat a pizza. Somebody does want to go back to their dal and chawal. So if you want dal and chawal, we are serving everything you want. You pick and choose. So the next element that comes is empowering the people with the choice to be associated with a support group or be associated with wherever they feel they belong. So that's a very indirect way of creating a sense of belongingness, saying that there is a buffet of different services that we have, or different groups that we are catering to, or different measures that we are bringing onto the table. You pick and choose, because for us, your choice is what will make you a happy employee that we are looking for. So I think that sense of connectivity and that sense of empowering them with the choice brings in the individualized aspect, as well as bringing in the integrity and creating positive group environments as well. So that is an approach that I feel is important here.
Absolutely. Anyone wants to add any crisp point? Because I have a couple of questions to cover before we wrap up. Deepti, I think you're making some point.
Yeah, going to your question about the managers, what would really help managers, or what do they need? I think it's pretty much what Deivyani shared about empathy. And just to extend on that, because empathy, and I see there was a question on that on the chat as well. Empathy is a concept that we've all heard, we all are aware of, but how do we practice it? And it's not easy. When I went in for my counseling training, I think we can feel for someone, we can understand their emotions, but how do we express that? And maybe that's something that we need to, pay some attention to give it a language, to give it a name, to give it a way in which you express. Because the other thing that we all may be aware is that we don't talk about emotions so cleanly or, so precisely in the workplace. It's easier for us to talk about incidents and issues or conflicts or whatever, but we don't talk about emotions. So if we are able to have that kind of sensitization or that kind of a guidance for our manager population, where they are taught, given the words, okay, when you empathize with someone, say these things. I think that'll take off some burden for them. They'll also feel more free and more capable to make that a safe environment for everyone around them.
Great. So I have a couple of announcements to make, and we'll continue with the question answer. And Athira, one is that, around World Mental Health Day, we do offer, few programs. And I think things are getting very interesting nowadays. Earlier used to be just some expert coming and talking, but, we are also learning that there are new different ways of engaging with the participants and, teaching them. It could be through various topics like food and mental health at work. We have different topics, and we use art and mental health. There's a strong connection between art and music, and music and mental health. There are connections. So we do offer programs around different categories. If anyone is interested, there is a link in the chat that you can leverage, or you can call us, right? So that's a small announcement I wanted to make. And at the end of the session, which we are about to close, there'll be a quick survey, maybe 30-second survey. I really want to know from all of you whether this session was helpful to you in terms of understanding, clarifying your thoughts, or getting some takeaways which you could implement in your personal life or your professional life to make things better for everyone. One question that I would, Athira, you have been asking various of questions. Would you like to unmute and ask your question, Athira, if you're there?
Hi, thank you so much, Sanjeev.
So my from an organization's perspective or as a DEI specialist, we do a lot of sensitization sessions or
Okay.
mental health well-being sessions, or like we do conversations around this throughout the year. It's not like only on the main months or
Please come to
something.
the question,
So at the
Athira, since
same,
we are very close to time, so don't mind me
yeah,
interrupting you, but
sure.
basically shoot
So
the
I'm
question.
just asking, like, apart from the sessions or the regular connects that we do, what something new that we can do that specifically targets to men? Since the conversation was had a part like where you say the suicide rates for men is pretty much higher than women. So just want to understand like what we can do better as an organization.
Gauri, you want to
So
take that? What can we do? Because you seem to have been celebrating Men's Day. So you have some very specific, quick
No,
advice?
all the panelists will give us some idea, because I know you guys are doing cutting edge work in this space, and specifically I know what Wells Fargo do. So we'll request all the panelists to just please help the audience around when a
Because we are
very
at
quick
5.
closer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we are at
yeah,
5, Sushil. Little mindful of time
yeah,
from
yeah.
everyone. But Gauri, go ahead, quick. One
yeah, so
sentence answer.
initiatives are really important, and we need to look at what's happening. But the framework that I believe strongly in is PSF, wherein in P is principle and values. Always go by them. Stick to your principle and values, because that's where when this is your value, that you will be creating a safe place for work, or you will be focusing on holistic well-being. You will be always sticking to it. It should not happen that the value is mental well-being, and you are, because it's not that the initiatives are going to help. It's also how I go every day for the morning meeting with my manager decides my mental health. So values are very, very important. S is supportive leadership, because without supportive leadership, without a push from top, these initiatives will not work. In many organizations, by the time you reach HR and functional heads, the initiatives are already over. Others are only talking about it because it's a marketing gimmick. So that should not happen. And F is the most critical part of it: feedback. Feedback is a two-way communication, because if you are seeking support from people in terms of what ideas they want to work on, you need to respond to that also. You need to work on it also. Otherwise, second cycle they are not going to talk anything. So PSF framework has really helped me, and closing the feedback loop is the most important thing that I would suggest.
Excellent. And Deepti, you want to add anything as suggested by Sushil?
Yeah, just want to add that,
Please.
let's not undermine the impact or effectiveness of awareness sessions. You will have different groups coming in for each of these sessions. So your awareness building is very critical in terms of addressing these extremely important topics. And the other point that I firmly believe in is to call it, name it as it is. So if we want to talk about suicide prevention, then we name the session as suicide prevention or suicide awareness. If we want to talk about mental health, we call it as it is, because sugarcoating does not really do the job. When we talk about it, the right audience will be there. And another thing that we have been very firmly practicing in our organization is it's a small thing. We don't ask for registration for any of our events. We don't want people to feel like they need to key in their details and it'll be with us, or we'll be tracking who's attended which session. So it's free for all. We don't ask for registration. We also don't ask for employees to put their actual name on the display when it's a virtual session, etc. So just making sure that they also have a say or a sense of anonymity and some control over that, and it's easily accessible for everyone. So that's my 2 cents on this.
Thank you very much. So I think I'm very conscious of the time that we have. So we are overrun by 2-3 minutes, which is okay. So I think first of all, Vijaya, if you can send the feedback link while I'm thanking the panelists. I personally would say I personally learned a lot today and personally enjoyed the very honest conversation about this topic, which is simple but not so simple as well, right? So thank you very much, Deepti, Deivyani, Gauri, and Manish for coming first of all and joining and sharing your experiences in a very frank and transparent manner, right? So thank you very much for that. And I'm taking few learnings here. The 3L approach that Sushil shared, or 4Es, or EPF, PPSF, framework. I think these are things that anchor in your mind and stay. but I think I'm sure all of us would have learned something and taken some key learnings and takeaways in our personal and professional life. So stay tuned, stay happy, and create a great, place which is very person can be oneself, right? That's what we should create at our family or at the workplace. And in case you want to, this session will be recorded and kept on our YouTube channel. If you want, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which my team would have sent a link to, so that you can get updates about it. And with that, I would also thank the audience, amazing audience. I think there was almost a parallel session running where they were making comments, contribution, and asking right questions, actually. So I was very, very happy with that. So thank you for that. With that, we'll close the session today. Stay safe. And I wish all the best to everyone in your endeavor in creating a safe place. Yes,
Sanjeev, just a reminder for some of the people who did not register and we don't have your contact detail, in case you want a reference material and some of the other videos, knowledge resources to be shared with you, if you can drop in before the session stops your email IDs, we can at least put you into that circulation list where we are sharing not only the recording, a few other resource material on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sushil. Thank you for that. So with that, we'll close the session. Thank you very much, everyone. Stay safe. Bye-bye.